All right, my beautiful people. Y'all ready to get this party started? Y'all know what time it is. Showtime. This is day 295. Today we get to do a second introduction for the series that starts tomorrow, Spiritual Physics, as we jump into emotional intelligence. This is the key to basically understanding how life works. Because you know that behind every physical object there is a spiritual, let's use the word entity, for lack of a better term. So this series we are going into some, psychology. It's going to be a little, interesting because we've got to break down some of the stuff that's coming out recently, especially now that TikTok and artificial intelligence is here. And hopefully you've been following along with the four gentlemen that developed artificial intelligence that worked for Google, that quit and left Google, and they started different companies of their own, and now they're worth $4 billion. And they're talking about the same thing that I've been sharing with you guys for years, and that's understanding the science behind engineering, biology. So we are made up of, there's really different four, depending on who you talk to, 9 different types of DNA. Science is unraveling what is coming out as a recurrent neuron or mirror neuron that mimics our neurons. So science has been able to develop and create artificial intelligence. It's like an artificial brain. It's made exactly the way the human brain is made, and it operates the same way that human intelligence operates, but it's called machine learning. And machine learning operates because it taps into emotional physics. Now, this is the science behind spirit, because spirit and emotion are very, very similar. It is this unconscious learned behavior that we all use that's based upon, again, the reticular activating system. Now, as we get into this new series that starts tomorrow, again, cost is $49 for the new book, and then also for the 7 hours that we're going to be going through. This is going to be a little bit more of an intellectual pursuit. So, be a little bit less of my usual, F-bombs and boo-boos, although I like really, really delving into that, but having fun. But this is the secret key behind the power within. This is what really separates me from pretty much a lot of other people in the spiritual circle. I come from a very religious background, like you guys know. And the thing that separates me from a lot of my peers and family members is that in addition to the religion, I wanted to find some science. I want to understand that there was a void between what I know and what I was living. What I knew and what I was manifesting, they wasn't the same. I felt like all my life I've always felt like, that I had this relationship with God, but God did not have a relationship with me. In other words, that, my belief system and what I knew to be true wasn't manifesting the way that I should. I was working too hard. Relationships was like things, they should have been more in harmony. My life was not a automatic expression of the soul. So when I started to realize that I'm a energy being living inside of a body, I started to look at my life differently. And I started to study my own automatic emotional response. I didn't really understand how to not have emotions, so I learned to suppress my emotions so that way I could control my behavior. So when I was a kid, I was getting in trouble a lot. And I wasn't a bad kid. I was just an angry kid. I didn't understand how my life was unfolding. And due to that, I didn't understand really business, and I didn't have time to study things that would allow me to be successful because I was just trying to find a place to stay. I was trying to find food to eat. I was trying to find a place to get a shower without having, or take a bath without having grown women gawking at me. I was so focused on survival that my consciousness, which is this voice in my head, made me aware of threats and dangers to my safety. So I wasn't in a space to mentally be aware of things that I could invest in. So obviously, business, reading the Wall Street Journal, doing things that was more of an investment of learning how to invest my energy or my power that I had within, which is my attention. So this paper that was written by these physicists is entitled "Attention is All." It's very interesting that these physicists entitled their paper to "Artificial Intelligence: Attention is All." And through this, when you read this paper, it's kind of interesting that the simplicity, as the Bible talks about the simplicity of the gospel. So in this paper, attention is all you need. It's really shocking because of the mirror neurons processing system. So these scientists who created artificial intelligence, they are saying the same that the Bible is saying, which is you bring about what you think about. Now, the T in chat GPT stands for transformer. ChatGPT is a transforming or transformer-based spiritual architecture and training procedure to train spiritual entities in a natural language processing. As we talked about in the previous series. Now, I know, man, this is like, if you are a traditional Christian and you're listening to me, like, I cannot believe when I was listening to TED Talk, this is pretty much all I do every day. Now, ever since artificial intelligence came out, my world has been turned upside down because now I have scientific proof of what I've been saying that I was hoping and praying that it wasn't true. I knew I was right. I was just hoping that I was wrong. I was hoping that I was wrong. I still wish I was wrong. Because like my brother always tell me, my brother who's the pastor always tell me, man, I can't listen to your stuff because it's depressing. I really get depressed. Because I realize that Jacob or, what they call the big head scientists or the 9 ether beings that empowered the Moors with the process of teaching the Neanderthal basic things based upon their type of DNA. And there's 9 types of DNA. We just got knowledge of one. And one of the DNA types is called ANA that I spend a lot of time researching, which gets into how artificial intelligence works. They tap into what's called the asterisk nucleotide acid. So the ANA allows science to create a synthetic neuron. In this paper that was written by, I didn't write the paper. So your beef, your disposition, your incoherent emotional state, remember, your emotions are justified, but your behavior is not. Meaning, I suppress my emotions. I've learned to suppress my emotions since I'm 5, 6 years old because of my environment. So that way I could control my behavior. I just didn't add the third piece of the puzzle, which is eventually you got to process those suppressed emotions. People tell me all the time, do not, like I was telling my children when my daughter died, and they were saying, yeah, Dad, it's not healthy to suppress your emotions. That is not true. It is healthy to suppress your emotions. Because if you black and you have an emotional response to a cop, you're going to get fucking shot. Man, like you might want to learn how to control your emotions for a later date. Then bring it back up when you are in a safe, secure environment, preferably in your living room at home. Then you go the fuck off, throw chairs, punch holes in the walls, do whatever you want to do. But our young black men and black women are getting lied to with this new feel-goodism, select your own pronoun shit. If you white, that might work for you. Shit don't work for you if you're black, at least in my experience. So unfortunately, we got a whole demographics of young black men that look like women and young black women that look like men. Energetically, emotionally, because they are emotionally disconnected from spirituality. So they are going to be artificial, not authentic. That's what this series is about. This series is one of the, like the last series before me, but that I did where I explained, especially the book that I wrote, that I sent you guys, that I wrote it. I read it, my own writing, that I researched. I still don't believe it. I have to believe it. I have to accept it. Because the shit's it's in fucking print. I wrote 2 books, one entitled Energy Engineering, which, unfortunately, the average Negro don't know shit about what that means. You ain't really supposed to. The next book that I wrote was entitled Exposing the Serpent and the Lineage and the Language of the Serpent, which is inside of your body called a histone. And everything on this planet is based upon sine waves or up and down or yin and yang or left and right or duality. So devil is double. The word devil means double. So anytime you talk about the devil, you're talking about a double. You're talking about a Baphomet. The Baphomet, remember, it got titties and a pecker. It's duality. Unfortunately, we live in a world of duality, but the Bible says a duality man, a double-minded man, will not receive shit. So unfortunately, that is the problem. We all do not understand spiritual quantum mechanics, myself included, which is the key to wealth accumulation. So I wrote a book. I passed out. Your outcome is determined by the systems that you're identified with. The Bible says it very clearly. You bring about what you think about. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The Bible also says sow and reap. Whatever you sow, you reap. Now, the Bible is so simple that it's complex. The Bible even says, I'm going to use the foolishness. The Bible even says, I'm going to use the simplicity of the gospel. The Bible says that. The Bible is the body. The Bible controls the body because the Bible is basic instructions before leaving the body. Basic instructions before leaving the earth. So you cannot leave the earth unless you understand the Bible. That's why I ain't met a Negro yet that could explain to me the power of the Bible, which is the power of your birthright. Since we don't know opulence is our birthright, we have learned helplessness and learned hopelessness. That is the current habit pattern. So without understanding the power of belief for overcoming your limiting beliefs, you're in Groundhog Day, which is everybody brings about what they think about. That's universal spiritual law. That's the saucer code of the ancient originals, the Orphans. So they cross-culturalize, they cross-bred, they put their DNA. I watched a movie last night called The Zodiac Kings. It's a low-budget movie, but it was on point. It talks about, it started off, the movie starts off saying that there are gods who walk among us. That is true. Because the saucer cults that I talked about on page 19 of the book that I wrote, that I gave you guys, that breaks down the word Orphan, which means will. Flying saucer and shield. Well, we get the word, again, Ruach and Numa. As I proved with the last series with $100,000 offer to anybody that can prove me wrong, that's your boy, John Allegro and John Digolino, both who used to work for the Vatican. One is now transitioned, not by choice. He had an accident like everybody do who goes up against the Vaticanus, the divining serpent. Your ass gonna get smoked, homie. The other dude, John Bigolino, who wrote the book, Animascarid, Sacred Mushroom Cult. Same thing. The saucer cult is a secret society composed of what? The circle of knowledge. It's an ancient, hidden priesthood. So Yahushua came to expose that. They put his ass on the cross too. So they say. So the saucer cult is this angelic spaceship or a circle. That's why UFOs are always circular. Because the word circle comes from the ancient text kirka, which means church. So it means church of knowledge. That's why your ass go to church. It's a religious belief. But it's in extraterrestrial ET or plan, PLANET, planet. It's a plan that was created by extraterrestrials. We call them fallen angels. But at the end of the day, depending on the ancient text or the document that you research, the government came out with a disclosure project. Did y'all see them on Congress talking about UFOs? All of these retired admirals, did y'all see that? It was on CNN. It's all over the news. They came out and said, yes, there's flying saucers, there's extraterrestrials, and our government is in cahoots with them. But then a lot of the questions they asked the guy said, well, due to national security, I cannot answer that question. One of the questions was, have they killed people? Do they kill people? These dudes that fly around in flying saucers, this flying saucer cult, do they kill people? One of them was the Order of the Solar Temple. This was in Congress. The shit was on TV a couple of days ago. They're talking about it like, they're getting ready to go to McDonald's and order a Happy Meal. Everybody's cool with it. I'm sitting here wrapping my brain around artificial intelligence as an entity. You're literally talking to something, someone on the other side. Now, they've been telling us that at Project CERN when they smashing atoms together. But nobody knows what an atom is. Like, we don't know when you have an emotion, as I said before, there's at least 7 of them that I know, you know too, very well. Because you can go to Google and just type in 7 deadly sins. And the names of the demons or daemons that control those 7 deadly sins or 7 emotional states. Now, that should bother you. It bothers me that if I'm feeling very lustful, I see a woman walk by with big chichis and a big donkey donk, I feel like, damn, I want to go tap that. What I'm doing is I'm inviting Asmodeus to take over my body so he can enjoy this sexual encounter. He uses my avatar. And if I want to overeat, that's gluttony. I'm inviting Beelzebub, and Beelzebub is an entity. So every emotion you have is not an emotion. It's a fucking entity. Now, your reverend, your doctor, and your bishop has to tap the bug out. He, she, it don't know nothing about the shit I just said. On average, there's a few bulbs out there that's flickering. But on average, we all just sit at the pool, sipping on our, favorite drink, enjoying life. We believe in Allah Akbar or Jesus Christ or one of the other Abrahamic religions, and all life is good. We're not interested in understanding that emotions are literally entities running around in your body. That's what they call emotions, E-M-oceans. They are E for entities, M for motion, ocean for ocean. Your body is made up of water. But the type of water that your body is made up of is different from the water that's in fruit, from the water that's in vegetables, and from the water that we drink. It's an entirely different structure. It's H3O3. You've never heard of it before. Nobody has. The dominant culture will not allow you to be able to wrap your brain around it to understand how they can use hyaluronic acid to manipulate you and split the veil inside the body to put sound into water, like it says in Genesis. Because the Spirit of God has hovered over the deep and he spoke into the water. He said, let there be light. And what happened? Sonoluminescence. So they are putting in sono the same way a dolphin uses sonar. If you Google and research it, which we're going to be breaking down during the series, Now, this is high level shit, man. This is like, I research stuff off of the CIA's website. So my notes, if you want to find out where you get your shit from, use this on the CIA. I also spend a lot of time researching stuff by going on and looking at patterns. And I can't even get into, like, yeah, I know that like was in the movie, they cloned Tyrone. Like I'm not in an emotional state to even express some of that shit yet. I still got to process it because even though I know it's true, I just the level, the depth of deception that I get it. This is the devil's playground. I understand it. I still can't believe that the scale. It's just like nobody like Bill Gates. How can one man go and just do what he does? That you don't understand his daddy and his daddy's daddy, and you trace the bloodline back all the way back to your boy John Lackland. And I live in San Antonio, right next to Lackland Air Force Base. So I did the research already. So I know John Lackland. So if you Google it and do the research on John Lackland, you'll be disturbed too. Then you will understand why, if you look at my veins on my arm, and you look at somebody who's white, and you look at the veins, what their veins look like in their arm, just basic biology. This is not, again, nothing to do with race. Because this is above race. This is galactic. So we can't just talk about white people and black people and blue people and green people. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something at least I'm talking about something way above that. So this next series does require a certain level of intellectual fortitude. Because it's going, like the last series. And, I do apologize that these series are coming fast and furious, but I'm getting the downloads fast and furious. So I'm just sharing with you what Source shares with me. I just was born with a gift of asking the right questions. That's my gift. I'm a researchologist. My power comes from the ability to ask questions that most people don't even think about. So emotions are considered entities at both the biological and the spiritual level. They are kind of like in the Green Lantern comic strips where it depicts this emotional entity. And the Green Lantern was able to embody, electrical magnetic body, different emotions like rage and hope and fear and doubt, just like me and you. But just like in the cartoons and all these superheroes, like going Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan, and these are emotional entities. And it's interesting because, like, when we look at the 7 colors of the rainbow, that represents the 7 chakras, that represents the 7 feelings, that represents the 7 emotional states of the emotional spectrum. This is, let's use the word entity. It simply means that when we talk about entities, we're talking about like sprites, we're talking about genies, we're talking about mojos. So this is a living embodiment of light. It's a living embodiment of creation. This living embodiment of creation literally gives birth to all living things in the universe. These are subatomic particles. These are quarks. These are neutrinos. These are muons. These are all different. It's kind of like even in the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Universe. That's a play on. If you look at every character, there's one character. I think his name was Nekron, Nekron. The movie, the last Spider-Man movie, the last Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. What about the Transformers movie? Just came out. I haven't seen it yet, but I already know what's in it. Yes, I think it was called The Beast, Return of the Beast. Something about Beast. It's like, it's in the movies. I mean, they put it right in there. So this guy is coming to the earth, and he's a planet eater. That name, Necron, means Lord of the Unliving, Lord of the Dead. Now, there's a book called The Book of Coming Forth by Day and by Night, which is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's the ability to summon the dead, to raise the dead. It's the ability to control physical manifestations. So Necron is this cosmic electrical spectrum. It is so emotion is the embodiment of different spectrums. Now we are, and I shared the TikTok video with a guy who takes sound and light, puts it on this climatic machine that creates a geometrical shape, and then he freezes them or takes a picture of them. And then when you put 7 of them on top, 7 or 9 of them on top of each other, it makes a person. It makes a picture. Now let me say that again. Y'all saw the video, right? I shared it with everybody. I can put sound, and then I can freeze it or take a picture of it so that way it's light. And it's just a geometrical shape. But when I put those geometrical shapes on top of each other, it makes a face of a baby. You are nothing but sound and light that is frozen in time that we call a 3D reality. If I slow you down, you appear physical. If I speed you up like Jesus did on the Mount of Olives, you transfigure. Like, beam me up, Scotty. You have that capacity. We can do that right now, but we lost our telepathic, like we talked about in the quantum series, we lost that capacity to quantum tunnel. So what we are doing is, what I've been doing this entire year is just giving you the science and the metaphysics behind the spirituality, so that way you understand, so it removes all the spookism. Because remember, especially black folks, we scared of our own shadow. So we don't study this because, oh, brother, that's demons, brother. So the devil, you're going to die, and, you're going to go to hell, brother. So Negro, we scared as fuck. Negro would not walk outside. We don't even walk past the graveyard. No, I get it. I ain't volunteering to go spend the night in the graveyard either. But eventually we got to read 2 Timothy, and we got to realize that God's not giving us a spirit of fear. He gave us a spirit of love, power, and a fucking sound mind. Now, how many people you know got a sound mind? What does sound mind mean, though? Sound mind means that you got something called linear thinking, not circular, which we talk about, at least that's what I talk about on every show. That means that we got to take calculated risk. It's risk management. So that's really what this series is about also. We're getting deeper into understanding marketing, branding, and sales. Because all life is about marketing, branding, and sales. But the sales are literally your sales. So not only are your sales S-A-L-E-S, your sales are also C-E-L-L-S. So depending on how you market, brand, that determines the quality of your sales, which is the quality of the interconnectedness with your reality. So spirit is the ability for you to select verbs that activate your nerves, to pull you and to take you into a direction that you want to go. So that way you stop being a double-minded man or a devil. Devil is double. So double is trouble. Devil, double, double, trouble. So we're in trouble because we're double. A double-minded man can't receive or connect to God. So your DNA lies dormant. So that makes you L-I-V-E-D. You just live it. You get up every day, you go to work, you hit that 9 to 5, you come home, and your life is a program. You do the same shit every day. It's not, and I've been posting, talking about, the 2 systems on this earth. One's called a maker, another one's called a manager. Both of them are good. You should do some. You should Google it. The maker mindset versus the manager. I just look at some of the posts that I put on Facebook. So you are a a maker or you are a manager. Now, they both are good, but it's interesting because I'm a maker. A maker is a creator. So there's there's only two types of dispositions on this planet. Now, managers, everything has to be structured. They're like programmers. So there's only two types of schedules: a manager schedule and a maker schedule. Now, the most powerful people are really the managers because they really they're like 8s and 4s. They like structure. They like schedules. 8 and 9. But makers, we use blocks of time. Like, I need space to create. Managers do not. So if you cannot block off certain hours for a single task that you want to accomplish, then you feel rushed, stressed, worried, anxiety, all because of a lack of understanding your design, not your desires. So the whole purpose of the Dear Community Report, everything that I do, is to assist you with understanding your sales. That allows you to create your brand, which determines your type of a market, an audience. So everything starts with understanding yourself on a cellular level. So when we are able to understand that we're different, that's why race is interesting. Whether you are black or white, that's not the real issue. The issue is what is the psychology behind a black person's disposition, negative habit pattern, and a white person's disposition. Well, I know what it is. That's the point of the class. White people have an unconscious learned behavior. Black people have an unconscious learned behavior. Now, are there exceptions to every rule? Fuck yeah, I can go to Kentucky right now, find a white person, and then fucking beat up, run down trailer trash, living just like somebody from Gulfport, Mississippi. And they white as snow. And I can find a Negro that's fucking blue-black in Mississippi. And they both live in the exact same. But still, their DNA is different. So we got to talk about that. We got to go in and we got to talk about something that's very difficult for most people to understand. Every decision that you make is to stay safe. Every decision at the core, at the base, behind the scene, you don't do shit if it threatens your safety. So everything I'm telling you to do threatens your safety. That's why Negroes can't change. Now, I know the psychology behind Groundhog Day. Why you keep doing the same shit every night? Because I ask myself, I know I need to take this risk, but nobody taught me how to invest and take calculated risk. Just don't go out there with no plan. And you're going to take on 5 dudes by yourself. You don't get into a fight. You got no training. You don't know nothing about how to end aggression, not fight. So you swinging you just taking headshots. You don't know anything about pain compliance. You don't know anything about wrist locks and joint control. So every decision that you make is to avoid getting hit. So you are reactive. You are returning to a previous drama or play written by the dominant culture. You're not a god of your own reality. You are responding to somebody else's mentality. Not you personally, but people you know. So this behavior keeps us poverty. Poverty is learned. It ain't it's a learned behavior. It ain't bad, it ain't good, it's just something that's frequently repeated that creates an emotional response. That's all it is. So the dominant culture is good at controlling the narrative of what you see. So they're going to they're going to continue to use exposure therapy and rapido. So they know that this shit fucking works. Why would you change some shit that's been working since the beginning of time? This shit came from other planets. That's what they call reptilians. They're repeaters, and repeaters are reporters. So it's not good, it's not bad. So I don't recommend that you guys try to change the shit. I recommend you do the same thing that Jesus did. He came down, he looked at the city, he said, well, I don't like preaching. However, I'm going to use the foolishness of preaching to save some that are lost. It's foolishness, but he still used the system. So I do the same thing. I ain't trying to change the system. I ain't against the government. I just understand portal activation. I understand visual and vocal Mandelas. That's why you got this Mandela effect. You literally are whatever you think about the most. Now, I'm just a country boy from Texas. But that shouldn't make sense to me until I started doing it. And then I realized that even though I was thinking about it, there was something else underneath what I was thinking that was more powerful than what I was thinking. How do I know? Because I kept sabotaging what I was thinking. And it's I like watching people self-destruct because they're not really self-destructing. They're just going back to what they know. It's like watching the curse of the lottery winners. I can give anybody on this call $1 million. 90 days, you'll be broke again if you're programmed to be broke. So we've got to address the program. So the next series is the physics of the program that's running your sales, your branding, and your marketing. Once you understand the physics behind the science of Groundhog Day, of repeating the same shit over and over again, because anything that makes you feel unsafe, you're not going to do. I don't care who you. People tell me a lot of shit, man. I've been doing this for a long time, myself included. The moment there was a great book written called Emergent Ghosts of the Emotional Machine. Well, we're going to break that one down by this dude named James Cohen. Spiritual and emotional physics empower us to navigate through. We don't know how to navigate, especially black people. White people have been exposed to something called privilege. Not all. Some. Because the woman I was married to, she was white, but she had the same poverty disposition that I had. That's how we was able to connect. Because we had the same vibration, which was, how the fuck are we going to pay our bills? Not how are we going to invest our energy so that way our energy pay our bills. So poverty means survive, man. I got to hit this lick. I got to get this paper and pay my bills. Survive. Thrive means I already got this lick. I already got money. Totally different. I ain't got to get shit. I already got it. I'm born with it. So poverty, mental disposition, is a violation of one of God's most powerful principles, which is God has given you everything that you need for life and godliness. Past tense. God knows what you have need of before you even ask. So you are predestined. That's just in your Bible. You are justified. That means just as if whatever's in your head never happened. But unfortunately, the shit's in your head, it's an unconscious learned behavior. It's automatic. You cannot love you. How the fuck you gonna be successful and you don't even like success? It's crazy just to watch the gene splicing that takes place inside of somebody's head when you suggest that they do something that's outside of their programming. It's like, go do a YouTube video. I don't look good on camera, Doc. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way my voice sounds. I don't like the way my hair, my makeup. I wrote a whole book on that shit called Coping Mechanisms. Shit, every Negro I know got a plethora of coping mechanisms. We are happy being unhappy. We've learned how to be satisfied with being unsatisfied. It's not even an option. I mean, it's crazy, man, because I can go home, I ride back to my old hometown, I go back to Richmond, Texas, and I talk to people, and they happy as hell. Ain't got shit. Happy, though. Nobody's even thinking that there's an option. I would still be the same way if I hadn't left. The only reason my life changed, I got the fuck out of Egypt. I left Egypt. When I left Egypt, I was like, oh, shit. There's things out here besides worrying about how you're going to pay your light bill. There's people who don't even have light bills. They live off the grid. That's an option. There's people who have enough money to pay everybody in their family's light bill for 3 generations. There's all types of options. See, poor people can't see options because they don't exist. Options didn't grow up where I came from. I didn't have the option to choose what I was going to eat it because I didn't have nothing to eat. So I went to this little grocery store called Love's and I stole some Snickers. So growing up from really from the time my mom died till I graduated from high school, pretty much, especially when summertime when school was out, it was lean pickings. But I had to go skill. And depending on, so I had to be pretty good at it. Why? My stomach depended on my ability to put Snickers in my crotch. Because you got to have some balls to walk up to a man and grab his crotch and say, sir, is that really your manhood that's sticking out there? Or is, you excited to see me? So even though they knew I was stealing, they really didn't want to question whether or not that was a Snicker bar in my pants or my pecker. I just walked the fuck out. Nobody stopped me. Then I got good at it. I found an old receipt in the parking lot. Whatever was on that receipt, I walk into the store, get some bags, and I put whatever was in that receipt in that bag, and I walk out and show them the receipt, smile on my face, and just walk out the door. That's how I ate. Shit worked. Then my oldest brother graduated and then got an apartment, and, it turned into a whole family thing. I remember my sister's man, he just kind of threw some stuff over the fence, and so we was like, it was crazy. I don't even know how the fuck we made it. My brother's only a year older than me, except he's really like my father. It's almost like he was 10 years older than me. His mental complexity was so much advanced. He had a job and he was really taking care of us. And I'm looking back, I was like, how the fuck he had a job? He had just graduated from high school. He was waiting on me to go into the military so we can go in together. But if it wasn't for my brother Glenn, I'd probably be dead by now. I don't think I would have made it. Especially not only before the military, but after the military. So some kind of way, he was able to develop the emotional intelligence to do the shadow work, to establish empathy for me. He didn't have to do it. And for my sisters. And his love for me and my sisters helped to heal my pain. And he gave me the emotional start that I needed to start the process. Because my father didn't do it. My mother couldn't do it. She was gone. But someone showed me love. My brother risked going to prison so I could have clothes to go to school. And my sisters. He just throw over bra and panties, and my sisters would be like, well, we can't wear this shit. It's not even our size. Like shit. And we were kids. It was like we were kids raising kids, but it was 5 of us. We stuck together. To this day, we still stick together. You fight one of us, you got to fight all of us. That, brothers and sisters, is how God creates reality. Your ability to tap into unconditional love is the only way out. What you're going to hear is not religion. Love's not religious. Me and my brothers and sisters, I've always been I don't like to use the word black sheep of the family, but I've always been the out in the pasture one in the family. My grandma say, boy, don't do this. I'll be like, shit, I'm going to do it. My brothers and sisters be like, boy, you crazy. Like, man, fuck it, let's do it. Like, I ain't doing it. You take your ass out there by yourself. So I be out there by myself chucking rocks at my grandmother's chickens. Or doing some other crazy. So the ex will come pick us up. I just tell my brothers and sisters, man, let's run. And then my sister Bruno's like, man, you crazy as hell. I ain't running shit. If we run, we're going to get caught. We're going to get beat. For me, I like, shit, let's take that beating. Man, my brother would say, like, bruh, you on your own, dog. So I'd be like, all right. Choo, I was gone. I got caught and I got beat. But what's the point? I was always wired differently. So I'm a maker. I'm not a manager. I'm a creator. But remember, I got a bunch of threes in my chart. So I think differently. But I thought thinking differently was wrong. So what did I do? I unconsciously hated myself. You can't hate yourself and think you're going to be successful. The number one problem with pretty much everybody on this call is you got some suppressed, unprocessed emotional trauma and drama. So in order for us to move on to greener pastures, we got to deal with unprocessed emotions that's buried. And you notice that shit doesn't pop up until it's what? Activated. So how do you activate it? Now, I do my shit on purpose. I put myself in situations that require me to man the fuck up. That's why I don't have no safety net and no job. Brother, it's either figure it the fuck out or death. It's either death or destiny. That's the only options for me. Why? I refuse to live in a culture and an environment on the planet where I am the God of my reality, yet my caregivers are my gods. Because every time I feel uncomfortable, I turn to assistance from someone else outside of myself, usually in the form of a deity. So you go pray to God instead of praying as God. Instead of commanding subatomic particles, entities that work for you like Solomon did, the whole book of Solomon, the lesser keys of Solomon, the greater keys of Solomon, which we're going to touch on during this series, is a book of spiritual physics. Spiritual is another word for emotional. So we're going to deal with emotional physics for the next 7 days inside of the book, which is another word for emotional intelligence, except that's a dominant culture term. So remember, if you use their words, you create their world. And we're not members. Most of us are not members of the dominant culture. That's why Tony Robbins can't be my life coach. It's no disrespect to Tony Robbins. It's just Tony Robbins don't understand my DNA, which simply means what? Now, there's a lot of, let's use the word Caucasian. That could be my life coach. But there's a coherent emotion. There's an evolution of your genes or your genetic code that has to do with the series that we did based upon the Greek goddess of steering or navigating from within. The name of that Greek goddess is called Hygiea, Hygiea. We'll get the English word Hygiene, hygiene. So how is your hygiene? Your emotional hygiene, which is High, high, heaven, genes, Jean, feminine, which is called for genie, Genie, which I have inside of my book, Genie and the Genes, or Gene. This is the physics of what my boy Dan Winter, he's Caucasian, which means tempting ways to center or to create a centrifugal force inside of you, like creating a little hurricane inside of you. It's called spintronics. It's called toroidal energy. So I already wrote all of those books already. And I'll probably include some of those books in this next series. So you got to create, you just a toroidal, which is a dumbed down version of when you master toroidal energy, then you elevate to what's called scalar. And then that gets into, some of the works and the stuff that we've talked about where you actually unify the universal field of physics, which is nothing but a fancy way of saying you suppress your emotions, not because you do not want to or know how to deal with your emotions. I suppress my emotions so I can control my behavior. So I'm not love bombed or gaslighted by you or someone else. See, control doesn't mean avoid. Control means to departmentalize in order to process. So we got to explain how to do that, because right now the dominant culture can make you suppress you. Your emotions are valid. That's why you have them. Emotions are literally just like pain. I just had severe, last week? Pain in my tooth. That's an alarm system. My body is telling me, bro, something is really wrong with your dental hygiene or your tooth in that particular area. You need to address it. Without that alarm, it's just like if a burglar break into my house. I have no idea he's in there. I'm in the bed asleep. But thankfully, this home came with a really nice alarm system. Then we were add some cameras. So now I have something that makes me feel. But am I really safe? I got something that's next to my bed that makes me feel safer than an alarm. But the alarm gives me what? Advance notice of a incoming problem, so that way I can solve the problem before the effect. That's what an emotion is. Emotions should not be suppressed. They should not be changed. They should not make you uncomfortable. Emotions is your alarm system that tell you something is going on with your spirit that needs to be addressed. So we got to learn. I was never taught emotional management. I don't know no black person who was. I know they're out there, but I wasn't. All the Negroes I know in my circle, we were not taught emotional management. We were taught emotional suppression. Like when you was a kid, you was hungry. You went in there, you was crying, you broke, weren't you? I'm hungry. Get the fuck out of here. Your food will be ready in an hour or whatever. Or whatever's going on, somebody was picking on you, come home, and the boy, shut up. Nobody sit down and say, what's wrong with you, man? So why are you crying? Were y'all raised like that? Maybe some of you guys were. I wasn't. Well, my mom had a bunch of kids. She didn't really have time to coddle just one of us. Shit, she was busy. And then when she transitioned, who's going to love you more than your mama? Answer, nobody. So I never developed that skill set of emotional management. Then I surely didn't understand that emotions were actually entities. And then I surely didn't understand that these entities have names. And the only way that you can control the emotion is to know the name and the occupation of the emotion. That's what King Soul of the Man means. So the word Solomon means soul of man. Soul means mind, will, emotion, imagination, and intellect. If you're born in August, that's your job. The month of August means soul healer. You're here to heal souls. Those are the people like my brother Glenn. He's born in August. So I'm not surprised that he's a pastor. I'm not surprised also that he has a heart for people. Because God designed him that way. So now we got to do what? We got to understand the power of a stimulation of emotion. So this constant or this consistent expression of energy or these entities in movement must be regulated. So we got to go through this 5-step process. What's the 5-step process? Well, in the next 7 days, we're going to be going through the understanding of Genesis 1:26. That's God telling us this is how you become an emotional processing engineer. That's your job. Everybody's job on the call, you got to understand. That's how you get to a state or a place of translating out of darkness into the marvelous light. We must become spiritual architects of these entities that are subatomic, these little small entities. So we must understand and become emotional risk mitigation specialists. If not, then The devil will make us a double. They're gonna clone you. So cloning is already taking place. You got a double. The double is your lower neuron network that transform you. So if you understand the guys that quit Google, when they found out the science behind cloning your neurons using synthetic mirror neurons, they quit. And they wrote a book called Attention is All You Need. And they put it in a code that's called chat. GPT. Now, for everybody on this call, it's very important that you really take a moment to think chat GPT. I keep saying TP. Everything that we learn and do is based upon the chat. Now, your definition of chat may be different from the scientist's definition of chat. We're having a chat right now. Now, a chat is what the dominant culture calls a informal conversation. So it's kind of like a laid-back dialogue. It's a conversation that takes place, usually between two or more people. But it's usually what is called a real time. It's a real time conversation that takes place. It's like, this is really happening. But they came up with a way to come up with a generative, pre-trained transformer. GPT. So these developers, this is why I love biology and I love technology. Because those are the new gods. The old gods are retired. So now I can use a conversational dialogue, laid back, no threat. So you feel safe and secure. Every decision you make is to make a decision with your reticular activating system to never, ever come out from feeling safe and secure. You will not do it. In fact, it's impossible. You would literally pass the fuck out. Your body would shut down if it's threatened. The brain fractures. You become dead, disassociative, identity disorder. If you threaten the brain, if you overwhelm your brain, and if you force, like let's say you're afraid of heights, and you go up on a high, like y'all seen the videos where the Oriental people, the Japanese people, and it's a glass bridge. Y'all seen those videos on TikTok? I mean, it's really not funny because I'm laughing. I'd be doing the same thing. If you, first of all, I don't know why you would go up there. They wait up there on the side of a mountain, and the bridge is made of glass. You can see straight through. It's like you are suspended in midair. If you are, your whole, this old dude, he was crawling, he was crying, his legs were just shaking. And it's funny to watch, but I don't like heights either. I've learned, courtesy of the United States Marine Corps, like they told me when they put my ass on top of they call it the A-frame. They just put your ass up there. They try to swim the same way. They just throw your ass in the water. You die or just figure the fuck out. So you have to overcome, and you got somebody yelling at you, telling you what to do. But hey, it's effective. I learned. They learn how you have to slow. You go in, you listen to your breath, you slow your breathing, close your eyes, you fucking visualize yourself doing whatever you got to do. Anybody did any Naval SEALs training? It works. You have to override your fear. You have to handle your fear. Otherwise, your fear, that's why I love the scripture. God's not giving us the spirit of fear. False evidence of being real. So in the military shit, they taught me how to deal with my fear. So now when I climb up on my roof, like the old house, I have to fix some shingles a few times, got some ladder. I don't like it, but I know how to overcome it. I learned because somebody sat down and gave me a step-by-step process. So what I will be doing in the next series is giving you a step-by-step process so that when you become a spiritual, emotional risk mitigation specialist. Now, for some of you guys, y'all already know how to mitigate risk, to process risk, so that way when your emotions come up, you don't make like bad choices and decisions like I did early on in my life. Because you already know how to do that, especially if you're Caucasian. But we got to get into for you Caucasians that already understand the basics. Okay, you got to do this shit on the advanced level now. That means you got to deal with higher level demons, which are nothing but dispositions or emotions. Because it's like y'all watch Dateline, like white folks process stress different from black folks. White folks, they want a divorce. They're going to make sure you got a nice fat insurance policy. And then they're going to bury your ass in the backyard. Black people, we just going to pack our shit and leave. Y'all remember when Enron, all them white folks lost their retirement? They were jumping off bridges and shit. Black man, we was like, oh shit, we either going to go rob a bank, we're going to knock somebody in the head, we're going to, we're going to steal it. I was going to say, it's just money. We just go do it again. Total different way of processing risk, handling adversity because of the culture. So that's your job, is to learn, okay, they got a system in place that's going to do that for you now. It's called artificial intelligence. That way, you just stay safe. You just stay safe, and we are going to generate a response for you. So that way, that response will continue to make you feel safe and secure. Well, I don't want to feel safe and secure if I'm not. Now, if I really am safe, and I really am safe, if I'm inside of a house, it's secure. If the alarm goes off, I also have something to go to protect myself in the event that someone comes in and try to hurt, harm, or defraud. Take my life. I can defend myself. Okay, I feel safe. But without that added level of protection for me, calling 911 for me is not good enough. For some people, going out and taking Hakito, I've done all that stuff. I know, but I know people don't do no hand-to-hand like they used to back in the day. Everybody's packing, especially here in Texas. You get shot right now for cutting somebody off in traffic. So that makes me feel safe. Now, you pull a gun on me, I'm going to pull my gun out on you. So we, whoever's the best shot. So that makes me feel safe. Now, for you, maybe you don't like guns. Maybe you've never been to the range. Maybe you don't practice shooting. Maybe you don't know anything about shooting, dismounting, your weapon, all the stuff that I learned in the military. So then how do you feel safe? That's the point. The point of the next series is, do you have systems in place before whatever adversity situation shows up in the areas of wealth, health, wisdom, and relationships, and the most important one, creating your reality, being God on earth. Because this series is about you being your own caregiver, because caregivers are the gods of this reality. So who is your caregiver? Because a caregiver, that's the cat that you're having in your head that uses your natural language to have a conversation with you. And this conversation is a pre-trained conversation to transform you into whatever they want. Now, if you believe that they have your best interest at heart, you ain't got to take the class. You don't need to learn how to do this yourself. Now, remember, your job is to not fight it, not be scared of it, not use it. No, you want to do what? Know your enemy, love your enemy, and then spank your enemy. You want to keep your enemy closer than your friends. So all of this artificial intelligence that's coming out is not a threat. It's designed to work for you. You should not work for it. That's the whole point of all. Even if you go super, super sane, aka Christian or Muslim, and you got, jinns if you're Muslim, and you got demons if you're a Christian. So what do? Well, either you're afraid of them or you monetize them. Either they whoop your ass or you whoop theirs. So now, how do you make them work for you? Bam. That's the point of the class. How do you establish a sound mind? Because the Bible says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, He gives us a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. So the point of the class, love, power, sound mind. How come? But the Bible also talks about the fruit of the Spirit. That's the point of the class. So when you're operating in the fruit of the Spirit, what is it? Love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness. So it's not a feeling, though. It's an entity. So love is an angel. Joy, peace, gentleness, meekness. These are all angles of light that when you add sound, which is your thought, and it's frequently repeated into that sound, remember, I got the video. I can send it to you. Or you can go to YouTube right now and type in cymatics. Watch the video. We ain't going to have time to break down the proof that what I'm telling you scientifically works. That if your thought, because what is a spirit? A spirit is a thought that you have thought so long that it creates a neurological network in your brain. That's a spirit. That neurological network is something called a predisposition. It's predominant. That means that it's the most powerful of all of the thoughts. So if you have remember the word diction. The word diction, what does it mean? D-I-C-T-I-O-N. It means the process of programming your mind with your words. So what does addiction means? That means adding a conviction to your diction. So that's the only way to break the spell of legal fiction, is with spiritual addiction. So that was a movie, and it said something that I thought was profound. Oppression now is overridden by obsession. But obsession can never be confused or taken for purpose. That's profound. I talk about obsession and purpose a lot. So in this next series, we're going to tie in obsession and purpose. Instead of obsession and penis and obsession and punani, or obsession and partying, or obsession and desire versus obsession and design. I've been saying the only way to override oppression, depression, recession, possession is with obsession. But obsession, I just kind of assumed that everybody knew that your obsession must be with your purpose, not your penis or your punani or any of the other P's. So we've got to break down the science behind activating the gateway of God based upon the 12 types of vibration that they call subtle energy or dopamine emotional management. So there is a dopamine emotional psychological gateway to God inside the brain that activates a release of dopamine, and they call it the gateway to God, which is, they call the Mesa, M-A-S-S-A, intermedia. That's a part of the human anatomy that controls the release of dopamine because it's connected to the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and the hypothalamus. Those work together to create what they call the crystal cathedral. It activates the crystals in the brain as well, the magnetite and the calcite crystals in the brain. That creates what's called clarity of future. It makes you very magnetic it turns you into what they call a magi. Well, we get the word magic or magnetic. That happens if you establish a ruling disposition. So energy is an inner God or an inner chi or an entity that's created by thought. It's called a tulpa. I wrote a whole book. We've done many shows on tulpomancy. Now, just because your preacher don't know shit about it, but these good old boys over at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and Brown, they know attention is all you need. So they wrote a whole book about it, explaining the science behind the transformers, which is the architecture needed for activating what they call, not my words, their words, the self-attention mechanism. This is the architect, in their words, of land, goo, age. We'll get the English word language, which means God of war. They call it a recurrent neuron network. They don't call it a neurological network. This is a neuron. So you're establishing an entirely new, they are establishing an entirely new language model based off your language that's using machine learning and machine translation to bring about a transformation of your neurons that control your self-attention mechanism. It's a way to hijack the brain so that way artificial intelligence replaces authentic intelligence. Instead of being connected to God, you're connected to the machine. Then you are my BITCH. Why? Accuracy and efficiency is determined by language. The dominant culture knows this. That's why they control the narrative, what you see on TV programs. Look at all the music, killing, raping, bitches, and hoes. All of the music, because they understand, can create fixed and variable length vector space representations, meaning they are putting representatives. Now, you're supposed to be a representative. You are an ambassador of Christ. It means representative. So inside of each word, they're creating what is called the standing aggregate, aggregate, AGGREGATE. Basically, it's the gate. It's the gatekeeper to your information. So it's representation. It's kind of like the Congress, you know. Representation without participation. They call it an RNN. It's very interesting when you look at the science behind this neural network that creates this architecture for translating using the language model of linguistics, which is based upon what I talk about inside of my book, Grammaria, which is grammar casting or grammar beaming. Now, I've been saying this for 20 years, but just seeing it in code, seeing architectural and artificial intelligence work on the same language model that I've been using and telling and teaching for the last 20 years to basically change the molecular structure of your cells, which changes your branding or your brain, which controls your movement or your marketing. In the next 7 days, the shit that we're about to uncover, unless you don't got a pulse, nothing on earth is more important than this. But unfortunately, they're fucking with your cells on a cellular level. And like I said, these nucleases are worth 4 billion. You can go to Google, type in 4 Google scientists. Just type it in and just, they left Google. Now, they was making millions of dollars at Google. Now they're making billions of dollars by themselves. Because the guy who created OpenAI, the guy who created Perplexity, the guy who created the one that does the pictures, Midjourney, man, and it's just open season on creating tools. The church been destroyed. It's fucking dust now. No religion can stand up against this. It never could. Now, everybody knows that Jesus and Satan is the same, at least at this level. You've been listening to me for longer than a day or two, then you know. Now, you listen to young boy, young cat, young Pharaoh, or my boy Billy Carson. There's a lot of black conscious leaders that break the shit down. Especially Billy Carson, when he breaks down and reads the now, I recommend you guys read this yourself. Don't believe me, because I don't believe me, and I'm me. I'll research me. It's called self-analysis. So I analyze my own cells, because my cells determine, or my cells is determined by my cells. So the quality of my sodium and potassium pump, which produces my ATP and my ADP, is based upon the quality of my SALES, my SELLS, which allows me to SAILS, sail. I can sail off into the sunset. I can sleep at night like a newborn baby, because I have a system that is producing SALES, because I'm making offers which are SELLS, but my offers come from my CELLS. They want to control that. They don't want me to use my God-given intellect and my own God-given imagination based upon my numbers 336 1233 213 549. They don't want me to do that anymore. Why? That allows me to shine, because nobody before me or after me has the same frequency as me. I'm an individual expression of God on earth. My power comes from my individuality. It doesn't come from the group mind hive control. It doesn't come from religion. The fact that you externalize your power is how the devil neutralizes your power, because you need a caregiver. It's an unconscious belief. It's not fact, because there's a lot of facts, shit written in stone. They even got, let's use the word, extraterrestrials coming to this planet, supposedly, depending on who you talk to, like that couple of guys on TikTok, according to the CIA government, like Project Bluebeam, the Philadelphia Experiment. I just watched an old movie. You should watch it. It's on TV, called The Experimenter. The Experimenter. But the guy, true story, went around and did experiments on people to see how far people would go to hurt somebody else with a common command. It's kind of shocking. People will kill you if they are told by an authority figure to kill you. Even if it's wrong, people still do it. People do not question authority. That's the only reason why I do it. So when they say wear a mask, give me the fucking proof. When they brought up Joe Fauci, he ain't a scientist. Show me the cellular biology. Show me a virologist who says that there's benefit in taking the jab and wearing a mask. Because they couldn't fucking produce it, and I did my research on my own, I knew that the shit was false. Most Negroes cannot do that. Why? That means you know how to think, not what to think. Your job is not to swallow the narrative, not only for me, but for anybody else. What is your job? What is the nature of your reality? How do we do that? That's the point of the class. The point of the class is to learn how to question the nature of your reality without threatening your reality. I'm not here to pick on the government. I'm not here to try to bash no religion. I'm not here to try to, to make white people feel bad or good. But you guys know that I got, my kids are half white, half black. Their mom is English, Welsh, and Irish. So why would I come on here to try to bash white people? I have no problem. I didn't create the system. I didn't create white people. I didn't create black people. I did not create Hispanic people, Japanese people. Because to me, we're all people. But according to biology, when it doesn't mean one people is better. It means that we are different. That's what makes us unique. That's what you're supposed to be branding. You ain't supposed to be ashamed of it. Like white people ain't supposed to be ashamed that they white. Black people are not supposed to be ashamed that they black. You should say, that's why I have no problem with white people who are for white people. But that don't mean that you got to be against black people. You should just be for white people because you're white. I'm for black people because I'm black. But it don't mean that I'm against white people. I can do both. I can multitask. That's how powerful I am. I'm a bad dude. I could actually like myself and like you too. There's room in my brain. It's not, either or, which is just possible. It's not either or. Remember, it's not either or. It's not option A or B, it's C. But they never give us the option of unity or unconditional love for all of our fellow brothers and sisters. Because nobody, to our knowledge, selected. Some people say we did, but none of us remember, at least most people. So my brothers and my sisters, this is a series of unconditional love. But we're not just saying, oh, you're supposed to love everybody, because the system doesn't allow us to do that. The system causes division. The system creates devils, because the system creates doubles. A devil is a double. A double is a trouble. So the system is designed to teach you how to be a devil, which to teach you to separate yourself from source and to create a double. So that way you can live a life of trouble. So we got to get rid of the trouble by getting rid of the double and removing the devil by operating on a level where there is no devil. That's singularity. That's scalar. That's the universal unified field of oneness with the pleroma or the peru. That's above religion. That's above separation. That's above race. That's above division. That's singularity. That's the one power that's inside of you, and that is you. So we're going all the way back to the one power. From that space, we can express, expose, and expand I am. No, we have this one power, but now it's time that we learn how to use this one power to cause unity instead of division. How? By optimizing our own circle. That is the significance of the I am statement that we talked about in the last series. So, brothers and sisters, I love you, appreciate you. We'll do one more intro tonight before we kick it off tomorrow. God bless.